Hey guys, Level Cap here. The Battlefield 1 beta has come to an end, and I want to go over everything that was good and bad with it and what I think the final game is going to be like based on my beta experiences. And before I get into everything, let me just say that I actually had a ton of fun playing the Battlefield beta despite balance issues and bugs and whatever that was going on. I really enjoyed myself, and I'm already going through beta withdrawal, so I can't wait to play the final game. That being said, with all the things that were going right for the game, there was also a lot of things going wrong with it, and I'd like to go over some of those right now. Some of the biggest changes that you don't actually see while playing the game is the scoring system, which is an important element to Battlefield as it can dictate how certain players are going to play the game. People who care about where they are on the scoreboard are going to change their playstyle based on the scoring system. One of the main imbalances I saw was the kill streak bonus. If you're in a tank and you're on a 30 kill streak, you're going to be getting an extra 300 points per kill. That doesn't really seem very fair to me. It just seems like sort of a rich gets richer philosophy, and I'm not really sure why DICE put the kill streak bonus into the game. In addition to that, they also apply round bonuses to the scoreboard, which means it's very hard to compare your skill versus another player's skill because end of round bonuses change your player score dramatically, especially for the winning team, which is like a huge point bonus, so you really have no idea how well you did compared to another player. They need to take a lesson from Hardline, how they messed up in the exact same way, and change it before the game comes out. In addition to which, I like the win bonus in the game, although it's not particularly well advertised, so a lot of players don't realize that they're getting a huge bonus for winning the game. It is a good motivator to try and get people to play the objective and win. It's just a little bit too much, where the best player on the losing team could be behind the worst player on the winning team. That's how good the winning bonus is right now, and I think they need to bring it down just a tiny bit so it's more realistic. And then of course there's the whole flag cap bonus, which is absolutely insane, giving people 1,300 or 1,400 points just for capping a flag, where a kill's worth like 120 points. So it's this huge shift up in the mentality of how people are supposed to get points in the game, and I think it's largely detrimental to the overall strategy. Now those are just some of the bigger issues when it comes to the scoring system, but there's also plenty of bugs in the beta, and I know it is a beta. Of course there's going to be bugs in it. There's been bugs in every single Battlefield beta, but it does give us a good indicator of what the final product is going to be like at launch, considering we've had many Battlefield games with very rough launches and lots of bugs. Some of the basic bugs I ran into were medic icons not working, infinite grenades from ammo packs, vaulting glitches all over the place, weapons disappearing while playing the game, random bullet deviation, especially AT rocket guns and artillery trucks, many game-breaking UI bugs requiring a game restart, game crashing or disconnecting, and really about 50 other things in addition to that. Even if DICE fixes 70% of the bugs that I experienced during the beta, it's still going to be a bit of a buggy launch. Now, bugs aside, let's talk a little bit about some of the balance problems or design problems that went on during the beta. First of all, medics don't have that little timer icon anymore, letting them know how much time they have to revive a body, aside from the fact that the medic icons didn't really work in general. It'd be great to bring back some of the cool features that were implemented in Battlefield 4, so we don't have to start over from the beginning every time and be like, hey, wouldn't it be great to have a timer icon this time around? We already invented that in previous Battlefield games, let's bring it into this one. In addition to which, people now have a skip revive feature, which doesn't really allow you to revive faster, it just gets you back to the menu faster, but I see this as being a significant problem for just the reviving mechanics in general, as everybody's going to be skipping revive all the time, and medics won't have enough time to do their job. I think they should get rid of this. Now, something that's had variable degrees of awfulness in certain Battlefield games is just spawning. If you spawn onto a flag, are you going to be killed instantly? Generally speaking, spawn should be kind of safe. Well, I had games where I spawned 5 or even 6 times in a row into instant death situations, and that's not spawning on teammates in combat, that's just spawning on flag points, and those are pretty frustrating when you start dying 5 or 6 times in a row. It doesn't really make you feel like your skill counts for anything in the game since you're just insta-dying, and I think DICE really needs to get their spawn shit down. I mean, it's hard to do in a big wide open map like Sinai Desert, but still they should come up with something, even little holes or trench systems or something for people to spawn into so they're not in immediate danger. When it came to playing classes, I found myself avoiding the support class at all costs. Some people were enjoying the machine guns. I felt like they were very underpowered and not particularly versatile. Every time I went bipoded, I usually got taken out by a sniper, and every time I was shooting from the hip, I was usually taken out by an assault class. The damage per second on some of the support guns is painfully slow. Not to mention, I think they have some of the worst gadgets in the game. Sure, they can distribute ammo, but most people don't live long enough to take advantage of that, or if you're a decent enough player, you just pick up a kit off of somebody that you killed and go on with their weapon instead. So the support really didn't have much to do, whereas in previous Battlefield games, it could at least carry C4 and really assist in taking out vehicles. Again, that's just my personal experience, but most of the time when I played with friends, not a single person was playing the support class. So I think DICE might need to relook at this class and try and make it a bit more useful. Now, aerial combat has been mostly reinvented in the new Battlefield game, which means there's going to be a lot of new balance challenges and stuff like that, one of which is the fact that tail gunners on both the attack plane and the bomber are pretty awful positions. They're not fun to play in, and the degree and aiming of the guns is very difficult. I think DICE needs to rebalance the tail guns to make them much more powerful so that planes attacking other planes really need to calculate their approach vector, and they can't just get on the tail of another airplane and expect to shoot them down. The tail gunner should really have the advantage in that situation, and currently they do not. Now, a new element in Battlefield 1 are the hero classes, and we've certainly seen some parallels between Battlefield 1 and Battlefront in this regard. People don't want them to be too overpowered, but I think there's just some general balance things that need to be changed up with the hero classes anyway. The Tank Cavalry class, which is supposed to be the best anti-vehicle infantry class in the game, pretty much sucks at killing tanks. I mean, I shot a heavy tank with the Tank Cavalry and it took me 6 or 7 shots, and then the heavy tank just found out where I was and killed me. It felt really, really underwhelming. Not to mention the rifle is incredibly good at killing infantry, so the Tank Cavalry doesn't really seem that great as an anti-vehicle class, but more of an anti-infantry class. Then we have the Flamethrower class, and when played right, this is an almost unstoppable beast on the battlefield. I was able to go on like a 29 kill streak with it one game. One thing that I think is a bit too overpowered with the Flamethrower class is his ability to kill the other hero classes in like half a second. He can kill them just as fast as any other infantry on the battlefield, and I think they need to make the other heroes a bit more resistant to the Flamethrower class so they can have more of an even match. And then of course we have the Cavalry class, which isn't necessarily advertised as one of the hero classes, but basically if you spawn in on a horse, you get a really powerful cavalry guy, and if you get off the horse, you have a huge amount of health, not to mention you can drop health packs and ammo packs, healing yourself and rearming yourself. This gives him insane survivability, and when you take him into infantry areas, you can basically wreck everybody with your lever action rifle and your sidearm and then just heal yourself back up. And most people don't realize you're a hero unit because you look very similar to normal infantry. So I think they really need to balance him out, and at the very least take away his health and ammo when he's not on the horse. When he's riding the horse, cool, let him drop health and ammo for teammates as much as he wants, but when he's not on the horse, he should not have that ability, and that way it'll tie him more to the horse as opposed to just getting off of the horse and wrecking everybody as infantry. Now, of course, one of the bigger balance issues of the game, and one that I've covered in many videos at this point, is tank balance. Tanks being overpowered, or people perceiving them to be overpowered. I think the light tank is incredibly powerful, and I've had multiple games where I've topped 50 plus kills or even 60 plus kills in a single round, and this is after they unlocked all the anti-tank weapons in the latest patch of the beta. I was still able to absolutely wreck everybody. So I know they are nerfing the light tank. I hope it's enough for the final release of the game. I still think some of its weapons could be brought in line a little bit. Now, the behemoth element, starting off with the airship and then evolving to the train on Sinai Desert, has been a cool new element in Conquest. One thing that it absolutely needs, though, is an infantry spawn location. Currently, the train will get filled up, and then you can't use it as a spawn location to just hop off the train at certain capture points, and that really needs to be implemented to not only the train but the airship from the alpha. And then, of course, because Sinai Desert is one of the biggest maps in the game, there was many situations where you might spawn on a point and have zero ability to get to the next point aside from just running across the desert, and this was really annoying at times, especially if you spawned on E point and there's no jeeps there to take to the next flag. You would just have to despawn and try and spawn somewhere else, or sometimes spawning at deployment, not having any vehicles available to get to the next flag could be pretty aggravating. I think DICE needs to add in maybe some motorcycles or a few more trucks and stuff like that for people to get around. Now, one of the most fun new elements in the game also happens to be one of the most glitchy elements in the game, and that's horses. Horses can kill people after they die, which is kind of crazy. The sword swipe has a huge hitbox to it, allowing you to basically kill fighter planes planes as they fly past you. You can just swing your sword and kill the pilot out of it. They definitely need a bit of balancing. Now, because so many weapons have been nerfed other than the sniper class, there's like 20 times more snipers in Battlefield 1 than there were in previous games. People are figuring out how freaking good snipers are, and this can be looked at as either a good thing or a bad thing. Good in that it's more true to the weapons being used in World War I. Bad in that playing a game with 50 freaking snipers everywhere is kind of annoying at times. You're just trying to run across the desert, getting sniped at constantly. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out in the final game, and whether it's just going to be more popular on big maps like Sinai Desert, or if it's really going to be a universal thing. Now, something that I'm not crazy about is sort of the end of round scoreboard highlighting certain players and showing their player emblems. Not only are they highlighting people for accomplishments that don't necessarily make a lot of sense given the game mode, but in addition to that, their player emblems can be any single image they choose. And I've already seen naked people on there to dead bodies in player emblems, like really disturbing imagery. And I think DICE just needs to get rid of these player chosen emblems and put in some standard emblems there, like say Overwatch or something like that. You can just unlock certain emblems and use those instead, and I think this will probably save DICE a lot of headaches going down the road. Now, another new feature of Battlefield 1 is the dynamic weather system, adding a lot of variety to maps and how they play out. The only problem is that the dynamic weather system can be really detrimental in certain ways. For one, when fog rolls in, it basically makes it so that aircraft are completely useless. So if you're in an airplane, you may as well just bail out at that point, which can be kind of disappointing for certain people that were having a really good round in aircraft. I remember having a perfect game, and then the fog rolled in, and I was like, well, shit, there's no point in staying up here, and I just bailed out and started fighting around as infantry. And you could argue that that's sort of a fun way to change things up, but at other times it felt more detrimental. I like the dynamic weather, but I think it should last for shorter periods of time, especially the sandstorm, which came in very infrequently for me, but when it did come in, then it lasted for like ever, and you're like, okay, like when's this stupid sandstorm gonna be over? I think the weather changes should happen more frequently, but for shorter periods of time, and I think that would make them more fun and less aggravating. Now, of course, one of the biggest changes and one of the most controversial changes of Battlefield 1 is the change of Conquest, a game mode that has been a staple in Battlefield since its inception. They've basically changed all the rules, turned it on its head, changed the point system, changed the scoring system, changed how it rewards players for playing it. I personally don't like the changes. Some people do. I've gotten into that in entire videos. If you want to watch those, you are welcome to check them out on my channel. But one of the other things that isn't talked about too much, because it's a game mode that's kind of fallen off the radar in recent Battlefield games, is Rush. And I think most people have been in agreement that Rush played out pretty terribly in the beta. It seemed to have a huge emphasis on tanks, very little emphasis on infantry, and the map design itself led to a lot of sniping, very wide open areas, and it was difficult and not really that enjoyable. I think lots of people remember Rush from Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 being a fun and engaging game mode, and if this is DICE's best example of Rush in Battlefield 1, I am very concerned for the game mode and whether or not it even has a future in Battlefield going forward. Not to mention there are some really dumb legacy bugs left over, like if an MCOM was armed but the time limit ran out, the game would end and it wouldn't give the attacking team time to try and let that MCOM detonate and push on to the next point. So I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to see some of these bad legacy bugs coming back at this state. Alright, now despite me being able to talk for like 10 minutes or even more on a lot of the bad things in the beta, there were still plenty of good things, and like I said at the start, I had a blast playing the beta. I enjoyed it a lot, and I still think Battlefield 1 has the potential to be one of the best Battlefield games to date. One of the best and most important aspects of Battlefield 1 is that it has that Battlefield magic, those wow moments. Even as a veteran, I was constantly surprised and impressed by the things that I saw while playing the game. Crazy explosions and epic moments, sniping pilots out of aircraft, blowing up the land bridge basically, being able to demolish the entire city in the center of the map, having a huge map, crazy aerial combat. The behemoth train was really cool and exciting. I mean, there's a lot of new things that really had me impressed. Not to mention the graphics are just insane. Best looking multiplayer game I've ever played. DICE is constantly breaking basically their own record for best looking multiplayer games available, and Battlefield 1 is no exception. The sound effects are incredible. incredible. I will say at times it is hard to hear a horse or a tank sneaking up on you, so I think they need to improve that a little bit. But other than that, the guns sound meaty. The aircraft sound amazing as you're flying past each other. The train sounds epic as it comes rumbling down the tracks. There's just so much fidelity both with the sound and visuals in this game. DICE's art department really needs to give themselves a hand for what they've done with this game. And for Battlefield veterans who really enjoyed Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3, but then got tired of some of the BS gadgets that were implemented into Battlefield 4, like the UCAV, SUAV, Infrared Optics, XM25, Battlefield 1 has kind of gone back to the basics with analog stuff. There isn't a lot of crazy gadgets in the game, though we haven't seen the mortar yet. I can't imagine that in itself is going to ruin that feeling. I love the analog feeling, less BS and more skill. It's really a nice change back to the basics. Also, DICE has taken a big change up with the weapon balancing and stuff. I was kind of opposed to it at first because it was a very big change and I thought they were going a bit too far with it. Now that I've played it a lot more, I'm really enjoying the weapon balancing a lot more, except for the support class, but all things considered, I think it's a good step in the right direction. They've also completely reinvented vehicles. Flying in particular is so much more fun than it has been in any previous Battlefield game. Maybe 1942 was comparable in terms of how much fun it is, but now there's a huge team element to flying around and having a good tail gunner or a good nose gunner on the bomber, and I love that. I think it makes flying just so much more fun and engaging. Also, some of the tank gameplay, despite me complaining that it has been overpowered, with some of the tanks like the landship, they offer some really fun team elements to it, where the tank itself is not at its full power until you have a fully loaded tank or 3 people in it. Then you really start to see that tank performing amazingly, whereas just one person isn't going to be that impressive. And people for a long time have wanted that destruction back. I mentioned how the entire city can be destroyed now, but also terrain destruction has been taken to a new level and is more impressive in Battlefield 1 than I've seen in any multiplayer game ever. I mean, you can make huge craters in the ground now. If a bomber does a strafing run past you, there's going to be massive craters that you can not only hide in and take cover in, but you can also mount a bipoded weapon on the edge of a crater. Terrain deformation is actually a really cool and new strategic element to the game that I can't wait to see how it plays out a year from now when people have figured out more advanced strategies. Are people going to be making their own trench systems using TNT and stuff like that? Anyway, at the end of the day, based on what I've played from the Battlefield 1 alpha and beta, I think we're going to have one hell of a Battlefield game at launch that's actually justified with the amount of hype that it's been receiving this time around. I think we're going to have a great game. Without question, there will be some bugs. There's probably going to be some server issues and definitely some balance issues at launch. But that being said, DICE has done a really good job of dedicating themselves to their games after launch and balancing things out and listening to community feedback. So I have no doubt in my mind that Battlefield 1, even if it doesn't launch as an incredibly well-balanced game, ultimately will come around to being one within time. Anyway, that wraps it up for my impressions of the Battlefield 1 beta. Let me know if you guys played it, if you are feeling the same way, if there's things that I missed here that you're concerned about, or things that you really like that I overlooked. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.